whether I would do a live today or not, but I've been feeling guided to do one to show you the process of what I've been going through today. So it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I woke up at around the 7:30 a.m. mark with a very deep, well, actually no, initially I woke up feeling really joyful and peaceful and really, because every morning I have this really wonderful conversation with God, and I feel really snuggled and safe, and and then if it's a day that I don't have any set commitments and I have to work out how I'm going to make that day really productive, I then ask God, what is it that you feel is the most productive use of my time today, because I have so much that I have to do and need to do and then want to do and could do. Like the list of things that the list is just it's just such a big list. It's overwhelming. It's actually overwhelming. It always has been. Ever since I've come to this property in Northam, it's been too big for me. It's been way, 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 way bigger than my ability set. My It's just been overwhelming from the beginning. In the beginning, I felt, as I shared with you yesterday or the day before, I felt a sense of excitement. I was waking up in the morning around 5:30 and jumping out of bed, and I had all this excitement and just boom, 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 and I got so much done. Like what I got done in 9 months was just amazing. But then, as I share with you all, the process, sort of after a while, I lost my mojo, my jumping up to jump out, and I was still feeling the blessings, of course. That super excitement got reduced because there was all these other situations happening that were making me go, what on? I was questioning. I was questioning my choice of where I was and how I got here and how do I make this work. And I just started going to insanity space because it was like nothing. It didn't matter what I did, what I didn't do, or what I did do, or what I could do. And it just felt like there was nothing. It felt like there was nothing I could do to make the situation work, because it was a situation that was supposed to be a team effort, a team dream, and the other person had withdrawn and pulled away and wasn't part of the dream anymore. I'm thinking, but this is not something that I would have taken on as just one person. So what do I do? And then I was all the alarming element of how do I just went to overdrive. How do I fix it? I went to fix it, overdrive mode, and took on too much burden. I've discussed this to the nth degree with you all before, so you can look at any of my previous from the very beginning of the first Facebook lives from June last year, to the early YouTube shows, to channel lives, to see that deep process that I've gone through there. That's not what I'm feeling today per se. It sort of ties in with that, and it sort of doesn't. So I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what's the best, most productive way to get through this day, to move life forward? And I pray to God to get guidance, because it's just too overwhelming. I don't know where to start, where to go. There's too much for this one being to do. It's just too much. It's this reality of mine is beyond what one person is capable of doing, with body injuries and financial limitations and mental quagmire and blah blah blah. So there's one other person in this world that might be able to do it. Maybe some really physically able 30-year-old with an amazing skill set of, like, there may be one person that could do this all on their own, but I really don't think many people could. So basically, I accept that, and I understand that God will provide. God will provide the support that's required. God will provide the balance. God didn't bring me here for it to be an impossible journey. So I've had to just constantly be in faith that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the journey that I'm supposed to be on. I get constant confirmation. just because of the people I meet, the interactions I'm having. I'm getting constant validation, confirmation that I'm exactly where God wants me to be. So that's very comforting, of course. So this relationship I have with God is the only thing that's keeping me in a space of peace and comfort and strength and motivation and inspiration. So I keep pushing myself. Like I've got a really injured wrist right now. This is a magnet bracelet. I don't know if you can see it. That little thing there is a magnet, which my friend Katya made me years ago. I've actually got a bracelet. I've actually got a proper wrist bracelet that I got when I injured my wrist in aged care years ago, and I cannot find it. I remember it cost me about $30 or something, so I don't want to have to buy a new one when I've got one. But then I found this today, and the magnets is taking so much pain away. But I've had this really injured wrist for about 3 weeks, and I'm still working hard. I've been working hard on a job for money. I've been working hard at my home, at my beloved, exquisite beloveds in my home. But I'm being mindful. I'm being mindful that I can only do so much. My body can only do so much. So I do certain actions in a certain way. So I know how to use my body so I'm not constantly aggravating my wrist. So I'm not being like a hero, pushing myself beyond my physical limits, but I'm also not letting my injuries stop me from moving forward. I keep going, okay, I'm learning how to work with my injured knee that happened New Year's Eve many years ago. Couldn't walk I had to relearn how to walk. So I have to be really mindful of my knee. I have to be mindful of so many injuries. And I pray to that to God, like these injuries that I've got, can they, like, not even just the injuries, this constant ringing in my left ear, this tinnitus, which is actually a result of domestic violence. When my jaw got broken and my teeth got smashed out and my jaw got broken, a bit of my jaw went into my ear. So had hearing issues since I was 25. And that just seems to get worse and worse and worse for some reason. I'm not sure why. And that does my head in, but there's nothing I can do about it. Had it assessed and everything. They just gave me the white noise treatment so I can learn how to ignore the sound. So my brain doesn't see it as something to be alarmed about. That's the only help I've got. But it's bacilliary membrane damage as well, nerve damage as well. Yeah, so that's one thing that I say to God, is it healable? Can you create a miracle? Could you heal that? Because it just gets too much sometimes. So this purging process has been going on for me since 8 o'clock this morning, and been listening to all these different articles and reading, and the day started grey, and I was interpreting a lot of what I learnt at Bible study last night and with my counselling yesterday. And at Bible study, we've started this really awesome emotional intelligence, healthy emotional relating. We do these themes that last 8 to 12 weeks. And this one we just started last night is about healthy emotional relating. So it's about healthy emotional relationships. So we started discussing the different. We don't discuss ourselves. We follow a workbook and a program that comes on blah blah blah. They're themed. There's some amazing programs out there, and we as a group work with it together. And then we do the group work when the people doing the video ask us to pause to do our group work. And I was listening to what everyone was saying and shared my bits, and then I come home and reflect on it, and it's very powerful. And we've got a confidentiality clause, of course, like all most groups have. I can discuss my learning and what I experienced in the workshop in the Bible study, but I can't discuss what anyone else discussed. It was really interesting listening to what other people had to say about their communication techniques and where they're at, and there was actually a time when I chose not to share. And the reason why that's our prerogative to choose not to share. And there was this one time I chose not to share because I was like, if I share what I have to share right now, they wouldn't get it. It would be too much because they're all sharing certain things from a place of mum and dad, like growing up with a mum and dad in a home, and the dynamic between how the mums and dads communicated with them growing up, and different experiences. And they also seemed to have a similar, and they all had issues with the various things of blah blah. But my thing was so left field, so they wouldn't have comprehended it. So I thought, I can't share it. I can't share how I was communicated to as a child. Not that I didn't feel unsafe. I just realised they wouldn't know what to do with the information, and that's okay. That's okay, because there's plenty of times when I feel very comfortable to share. But it did, set off this thing, last night again about the mum dad thing and growing up with them. Some of these people, what upsets them about something happening in their childhood, and they acknowledge it. They say I had a safe, good childhood, and they've still got trauma around certain things that happen. But they do acknowledge that they had a safe, good childhood, and it's just something that some of us have never had. I've got quite a few friends that, well, not quite a few, but a few. I know quite a few people that it's called a core wound. It's a deep core wound when you're a child and you're not safe and you're not loved and you're not held. But something I've come to realize is God's showing this. This is everything I'm learning is learning about. My mother loved me as much as she could, and she loved me. So it's not like I didn't grow with love. My mother wanted to love. She didn't know how to love. She's autistic. Sorry, she's not confirmed autistic. When they tested her, sorry, my nose is running. Sorry about this. When they tested her some like not manic bipolar, but some sort of. Anyways, she knew it was the wrong order, wrong label, and blah blah blah. We all knew it was the wrong label, but she said, "Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like whatever. Like I am what I am," and we all said yes. And at least you accept now that you're always going to be someone. Now you can stop feeling so guilty about what you couldn't give and do. That was my main thing. One of my sisters and I, we just begged my mum to get an assessment when she was in her 50s because we wanted her to realise that she needed help, that she was not normal. We didn't use the word normal, but yeah, she always had someone looking after her. So me from 7 and up, I took after my mum and all my sisters and brothers. And then the responsibility went to one of my sisters. And then a bit later it went to another sister. And then now it's on my youngest brother. But it was actually from the second sister onwards. It was when I had to pull back. And me and the other sister who did it for quite a while, we discussed. We said, let's get our mum to help. Let's get her to help work out that she's always deserved extra help and she's never had it, and let's get her to understand that she's got nothing to feel guilty about or ashamed about. Rah, rah. So that's a stance we'll come from a place of love, not judgment. She got an assessment. We don't think it was thorough enough. My mother didn't think it was thorough enough, and the doctor was actually quite dismissive and quite rude. Just wanted to shove drugs on her. And what happened years later was when I started learning about autism, and it was really interesting because of a friend of mine who has an autistic son. She won't mind me using her name because she wants to come on my YouTube channel. Her name's Desiree, and she has an autistic son, seriously autistic. And I've been working with her for years, like was paid by the Autism Association to work with her son. And I learned a lot about autism working with her, and I learned a lot about dementia and autism and everything as well, doing the aged care, disability support training, and then all the extra training that I was doing, all the extra learning. I was just so fascinated. I always wanted to keep learning. But it was actually my friend Desiree that first said it to me years and years ago. She mentioned that my beloved love, my beautiful, exquisite soulmate, who is now my husband, she mentioned years ago when he and I were just, on-off friends with benefits type scenario. And she used to have me because I was always in this, it was a really unrequited love situation, like a real, I was always working at trying to make my life work, but I just trying to move on and make my life work, but I just couldn't get this man out of my heart, just constantly trying to live, like move on and go. This person doesn't see my value. They don't see me that really for who I am at all. They don't see how good we are together. They don't see how amazing our magic is. They do when they want to, but then they shut it down. I just got to move on. And so with her and a heap of other people throughout those years of my life, they've heard me communicate, during my times of joy with my beloved and during my times of excruciating pain with my beloved. And sorry, my friend Desiree said to me many, many years ago, I actually think that your love is autistic or has Asperger's. And so in that case, then you can look at this and this and this and this and this dynamic and had this and this and this excuse. Like not like we're making excuses for the person, but like just be aware. Leniency is the word. So give leniency for here. Over compromise here. So I was learning how to, and I did that for years. I was over compromising here, giving leniency there, not putting up with what I believe was what I felt like was how I ought to and should have been treated. And I don't like the word should, but I'm trying to be a bit fast here because this is actually not what I want to be talking about today. So I was struggling with how to set up clear boundaries, like boundaries with someone else. Boom, 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 boom. I wouldn't have wouldn't have let that be treated. I wouldn't have let myself be treated like that. I didn't let myself be treated like that by anyone else except for this one person. Why would I? And all my friends and everyone's going, and even my loves and my mutual friends, everyone's going, why are you tolerating this behaviour? I said, I'd only wish I knew. I only wish I could shut it out, cut it off, shut my heart down. I wish I could. I just wish I could, but for some reason I can't. I'm trying to. I want to. I went on Tinder. I tried to do all these Tinder dates with people just to get distractions. I opened up to having relationships with people and true blue, allow myself to really fall in love with these people. I moved, I traveled, but in all this process of dealing with my love, who's unconfirmed autistic or Asperger's as well, I started realizing, hang on a minute, this is my mum. There's so many similarities here. And then I started talking to my mum about it as well. About 15 years ago or something, about 14 to 12 years ago, it was when I started realising the similarities between my love and my mum and other people I knew. And I was like, it might have been not as long as might have been 8, 9, 10 years ago. Don't hold me to dates right now, peoples, because I'm not time is a strange thing. So much time's gone by. But then it was with my mum, and then I was able to really understand how hard she tried to love us. She just that frontal lobal disorder, like the not being able to associate, not be able to integrate an emotion or understand the emotion, having all the communication. I mean, about right. We're not going to go into that right now, but it softened my childhood. It made me realize my mother never deliberately didn't love us. My mother never deliberately abused us. And that just took so much of the pain of my child away. It took so much of the pain, so much of the trauma of my childhood away, realizing that I wasn't intentionally abused and I wasn't intentionally not loved and I wasn't intentionally neglected. It makes a big difference. And then recently I shared with you in one of my recent YouTubes that I realised I don't even think my father intentionally intended to abuse me. I mean, he was It was incest, pedophilia, and used me. I was used as a child prostitute. So they're all pretty heavy duty scenarios for a father to put you in. But he also put my mother in those situations. Like my mother was also, our life was not a good life, and our father was not a good man, and my mother's husband was not a good man at all. He was a monster in every way. I realised recently, just I share with you all about a week ago, I don't even think my father's abuse was intentional. I think my father was so out of it because he was a drug addict. But I think he had been made a drug addict by the mafia, by the Sicilian mafia, because I think he was a victim, either used as well for other people's. I've got to be careful with YouTube, the words you use. They sense you if you use too many of these words. They don't like you speaking about the truth of the darkness. Like, this is a big issue that's happening in the world everywhere, but you've got to be, shh, don't talk about it. Even psychiatrists can't handle it. I had a mental health act order put upon me that the police and the ambulance, there was a laughing joke and such a waste of resources, and against my will got taken down to St John of God's Hospital against my will, with my back door unlocked. My dogs, I've just rushed down to do the appointment for 1 hour with this psychiatrist, get some food for my dogs, come home. So my dogs were home, not fed, back door unlocked. Yeah, and didn't get home until the following day. Outrageous, outrageous. And everyone said, such a waste of resources, in every way, everything. I said, well, is the dude going to be held to account? But anyways, what actually happened was, so obviously the Mental Health Act got like absolutely unwritten immediately as soon as the psychiatrist came into the psych ward the following morning. Like, I think it was at 9 a.m. in the morning. As soon as the psych team turned up, they just released me. And they said, if we'd been able to be here yesterday and we had more time, we would have released you yesterday. This is such a joke. And the reason why that psychiatrist did that to me, because he couldn't handle, and all I said was tiny little bit of my history, right? Tiny little bit. So I have to live with this much. Live with it. Like, remember it, know it, live it. I was just trying to work out if I could build rapport with this guy, if he was going to be trustworthy. What can I share? So I shared that much of it. And he assumes that I'm at risk. My life is at risk. I'm in such trauma from him hearing that little amount. And that's something from years ago. It's such trauma. My life is at such risk. I must be locked up and watched, have 24-hour supervision because I'm at such risk of not of he actually just, what really happened was, he didn't know what to do with me. He freaked out. Jumped up, ran out of the room, did a mental health act order. I had an advocate with me who said that man is just so fearful of SEXUALABUSE. Just couldn't handle it. And I've noticed a lot of health professionals can't. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to listen to it. They can't comprehend it. They just can't handle the implications and the ramifications of what actually happens to people. So what I've come to realize is my father, I fully believe, YouTube can't handle it. I realised my father, I think, was actually a victim of SEXUALABUSE via a cult of SATANICAL ritual, ABUSE. And then that's why I was brought into it, because some of my memories are, the ritualized with the cloaks, the people with the cloaks and the chanting and the implements and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was about 1 week ago that I had the revelation that my father was not survivor, because he died. He SUICIADED, which is another word you're not allowed to use on YouTube. So basically, he did that to himself when he was 26. And I believe he did it because he was 19 when I was born. So yeah, I just had that realization last week. So I've just come to this realization recently that I even though I've had a very abusive childhood, my parents didn't deliberately go out of their way to deliberately abuse me, neglect me, and hurt me. And I've come to, so the purging that I'm experiencing today is partially related to that, but it's actually more related to this. The majority of people I'm meeting, because people feel like they can talk to me and say anything to me. People have been doing this to me my whole life, since I was 15, 13, 12. People have always felt like they can say whatever they want to me. They don't ask me my consent most of the time. They don't check if I can handle it. They just assume I can. They just pick that I can. And my counsellor told me yesterday it's because I've got such an open heart that people are subconsciously picking up on me being completely safe and having no boundaries. So that's what I've had to learn, to get the boundaries. Come to realise how many people have grown up with deliberately abusive parents, people who are deliberately mean, deliberately putting them down, deliberately taking away their self-confidence, deliberately taking something away that was really important to them just for some sort of sadistic joy. And to simplify the terminology, narcissistic parents. And then these narcissistic parents were very likely children of narcissistic parents who are children of maybe, and then these parents bring up children who then become narcissistic parents and narcissistic siblings and narcissistic partners and narcissistic friends, unless they really want to focus on it and heal it, which takes a lot of courage, and people do heal it. There are some amazing YouTube channels of people who say they're calling themselves recovering narcissists. So yeah, some pretty profound information out there for those who really want to delve into it, which I have been. I've been learning quite a lot about so many different things. I'm always wanting to learn. It's one of the reasons I'm here on this planet, which God said to me again today. Like, it's the teachability in me. It's the fact that there's this thing called critical analysis. And you can learn it, just like you can learn active listening. Oh, sorry about this. you can actually learn so many skill sets, but however, some of us have them innately. We just innately have them. So you can either call them God-given gifts or what. Do not know why some people are just born with certain skill sets and others have to learn it, and it's really hard for them to learn. Others just cannot learn it, full stop. So I have this critical I have a really highly analytical brain that actually is a critical analytical brain, and I really work at looking at biasisms and triggers and working at, if I'm really triggered there, what is it I need to learn from that? What do I need to see from that? I'm always, since I was really young, since I was 9 or 8, if I'm really triggered by something, if something really weirds me out, I go, why? Why does that weird me out? And I'm prepared to delve into the deepness of it and darkness of it. Well, darkness, but delve into the uncomfortableness of the situation to work out what it is that I need to learn. So I've had this super inquisitive brain since I was really young, which is why adults took me under their wing so young, and why I got hothoused. People were hothousing me. People were teaching me stuff that was way beyond my years of what a child of that age you would think could learn, but they just knew I was able to, wanted to, capable of, and I did retain a lot of the information. And then as I got older, I built up on that information. So yeah, they saw something in me. They saw this young person who just was craving for information, craving to be taught, craving to learn, someone who they thought worthy of being learning. So I grew up with a lot of supportive adults. I grew up in a commune, not my whole life, but from 7 and up. And so there was a lot of adults in my life who took me under their wing and taught me lots of things. So I've come to realise that I really have actually had quite an amazing upbringing. I've actually had a lot of support and a lot of love. So even though a part of me feels really sad because my mother was unfortunately unable to hug and kiss and I love you and all that sort of stuff, But she would do things like from afar sing. So I was always hearing her beautiful singing voice. She has such a beautiful singing voice. I believe she's a savant with her singing. Stunning voice. A nightingale. And unfortunately, she would only sing when she got really drunk. And she was so good at playing guitar and so good at singing. And she usually only did it in public when she was absolutely hammered. She was an alcoholic for years. So we did hear her sing a lot when she got really went in public in certain environments. So what's my point in all this? The purging of today. And praying to God for guidance of how to get through the day, because I've just been feeling, I don't want to use the word lost. I hate that word lost. And I hate the word hate. I don't want to use the word unmotivated. My counsellor said yesterday it's the word blah. Blah. You're feeling blah. It's more than blah. It's like directionless. Like if I don't have a clear goal or objective or ambition or dream to follow, I feel like I'm just floating is not the right word, like buoyant's not the right word. Just like wispy, like I need direction. I need to have dream. I need to have I have my dreams. I need to have conviction. It's like there's times when I lose my conviction. I don't want to say drive either. I'm trying to think of the right word here, like purpose. Just lose my sense of purpose. When I lose my sense of purpose, I just think, why? I lose my desire to be here. It's like I want to be doing something with meaning. I want a life with meaning. I want to be being of living a life with integrity, you know? I want to live a life with integrity. And I know a lot of you resonate with this. And it's tricky. Like you got this God's given destiny, this God, got this God, divinely God planned, and you're following God's plan and you're listening to God. We're listening to God and we have faith in God and we surrender to God. That's why today when I was having my purging, I said, in God's grace, I said, God, let this purging be a healing process. I said, I trust you, God. I surrender. I know this is a healing process, but I'm just going to reaffirm, I am purging as a healing process. I'm not just, and these tears are not just tears. These are healing tears. I'm not just going to cry for the sake of crying. I'm not going to feel, I'm not going to go into that space of despondency or tiredness or overwhelm without knowing that this is a healing process, because I've been learning recently that the purging process, which is what this is, like tears, when you're shaking or when you're curling up, or that purging process, that allowing the deep, whatever it is that needs to come out. It's not always feelings. It could be a memory. It could be a toxin. It actually literally could be just a toxin coming out, like say if you're having withdrawal, say if you're getting over, say if you've had a really bad diet and you're releasing bad preservatives out of your food, or say if had a binge of alcohol and you've got to release the alcohol out of your system. Or anyways, purging isn't just always about emotion. It can just also literally be a built up of adrenaline. I have a son. Who literally, the poor darling, when he was in my womb, the sperm dude was always trying to undo his life by, kicking my pregnant belly. And I had to protect him once I got my fingers broken, because I had to protect my belly from this person trying to unliven my beautiful child inside of my womb. And the whole pregnancy, I was just at risk. I was living on the beach, homeless, with my toddler, firstborn, and I. So pregnant with my toddler, living on the beach, sleeping on the beach, and once a week I would hire a hostel or something so we could have a shower. And we didn't have a car at that time. And eventually I got a house, about 2 months before this child was born. My first son was born. And the dude, I thought I'd be good and invite him to the birth. And then he continues to do the abuse, at my house, to the children. So whilst he was born, it just continued. It just didn't stop. It just didn't stop until I got full custody. However, this little child, my firstborn child, was born with what the doctor told me was adrenaline overdrive. He was born literally with so much adrenaline in him. He screaming all the time. He couldn't sleep. He'd smash when he could sit up, he would actually smash his head on walls. He was covering bruises from smashing his head on the walls because his head was too much. He had too much adrenaline in him. And a lot of children who are conceived and born with a humongous amount of DV, I don't know if anyone knows what that means. Domestic violence is what it's called. But I wasn't even with the guy. I left him. I left the dude when I was 3 months pregnant with my firstborn. Left the dude when I was 3 months pregnant with my firstborn. And the second little one got conceived in a non-consensual situation. And so there was a lot of trauma around that too, and a lot of adrenaline around that. So this type of situation impacted his little being as he was growing in my womb, and it impacted him as he was growing up. And he and I have had a lot of healing to do, which is where a lot of my learning about communication, and I've had to do a lot of learning to be his parent and the other one's parents. But the releasing process is huge. He's really healing. He's doing amazing. So it's when you consciously heal. You can heal any type of trauma in the womb, any type of trauma in the body. I probably had womb trauma as well. I bet you when my mum was pregnant with me, there was probably a huge amount of trauma happening in my mum's life. So I've probably got a lot of adrenaline trauma from that too. And I would say when I was born, a lot of really bad stuff happened as well. So very similar to my son in that regard, I would say. But we're consciously healing. Now, why did I go down that track? So the purging, I've gone down a bit of a segue, so I might just try to backtrack. So with the purging process, we're releasing. Sometimes it's a feeling that we don't even feel. Sometimes it could be something we don't even know is happening. So that's why I urge you. I've had many, many counsellors let me know this, the good ones, and I've worked it out for myself as well, and lots of articles I read. And we don't need to understand why we're purging. We don't need to know the story. We don't need to know the details. I keep saying this to people all the time. There was this person going into detail about their trauma the other day, and I said, the details are irrelevant. It's the feeling that has come up, and releasing those feelings, and in God's grace, looking at and surrendering to what it is, that process is teaching you, because it's all about these processes don't happen to us for no reason. There's always a reason. We have certain lives and certain experiences. Well, this has always been my philosophy, and it's many people's philosophies. And the people who I know are doing well in life take responsibility and accountability, not that they are the reason why it happened, which is what the New Age karma people talk about. That is completely false. That makes people unalive in themselves. It's called positive psychology, and it's crap. And I lived under that for years, and it actually was a real reason why I struggled with mental health, because I kept thinking I'm responsible for these experiences. They happened because I did something bad in the past, in my previous past life, or blah blah blah, all that sort of crap. Or I'm getting my karma due. No. It's actually a lot more beautiful than that. What I've come to realize, what I fully accept, what I endorse on this YouTube channel, what I'm hearing and learning from many, many people, is that we have trials and tribulations which God allows in order for us to undo all that we are not, to, from a place of free will, free ourselves from any devilish demonic constraints, which is doubt, fear, worry, blah blah blah. Free will being honed and trained in to get to a place, from a place of free will, where we truly surrender our egoic being, our egoic 3D being, and surrender this vessel and this life to God's will. Thus, we align with our 5D being and the godly, divine. I'm just going to go outside for a bit. I'm getting a bit cold. Godly, divine. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. That's what happens if I sit down too long. I get cold. So, I am firmly now of the ethos that everything that happens to us is actually divine will, and it's divine will in order to hone. And if we take the lessons in grace and gratitude and the blessings that they are, and we learn from them in God's grace, like, God, help me see what it is that I'm supposed to be learning here. So I'm still not warm enough. God, help me see what it is that I'm supposed to be learning. In that place of pure surrender, pure faith, pure trust, then all these experiences become absolutely amazing blessings. They all are. They're all blessings. And I was saying this to this gentleman the other day that just kept going on and on and on. I'm going, I can't do this anymore. Been there too many times, getting some really clear boundaries about how long. And that's me probably learning as well how to be a good counsellor. Like, if someone's going on and on and on in a loop, they're not helping themselves. They're wasting my time. They're wasting their time. They're wasting life. So it's really important to be able to stop these people and say, listen, yes, I've heard a bit of your story, and that's great. You've given me some context, but also I don't even need to know the details, because the truth of the matter is, let's look at the blessings of what this experience has brought up. Let's look at your feelings behind it. What is it that you need to feel? What is it that you're needing to comprehend, understand? It's the feeling of the situation. That's what we need to focus on, not the details. So I've become really clear about that. So that's helping me out as well, because I have had some people say to me, "Oh, tell me this and tell me." I go, "No, I don't need to. I don't need to. I don't need to repeat the story. I don't need to." Like, I do it every now and again on YouTube channel, only because I guess to help some of you realize that these deep, dark experiences that we have, when you look at, okay, for example, I have discussed with you all from a place of pain some of those early memories that started coming up when I started getting some really early infantile memories June last year, and they were shattering. And around that same time, I started to, all sorts of scenarios were happening within me. I was having neuron synapses breakdowns. My body was physiologically breaking down. I didn't feel like myself. I went to the mental health system. I went to the hospital. I went everywhere asking for help. I knew that something was wrong. these memories that came up were too much. They were just so, can you stop licking me, please? Like, sorry, Zena's here and she's just licking me. I do not like being licked, but she's actually licking me like a lollipop. Just relax, little one. Relax, see? There's Alvin. So basically, I knew something was radically wrong. And in that system, they kept asking me to repeat my memory, what was coming up. But then they wouldn't give me any help. So here I'm repeating the story over and over and over and over again. But where's the help? So that was part, and then they put me on these really serious drugs and then kicked me out and left me to withdraw. So 3 days later, I didn't have any of those drugs in my system. None of the trauma had been healed, and all that had happened is I had to repeat it over and over to all these people that just writing notes down and various things like that. Like where was the support? Where was the help? Because when I tried to talk about the feelings, they would then walk off and say basically that they don't need to know about that. They just need to know it was just crap. I still, part of me does want to go to ombudsman about what happened, but I don't, because I know that God put me there. Same with the Mental Health Act order, what happened then as well. I believe that I was given that experience to get head-on experience with the mental health system and how flawed it is. Because that was one of the reasons why I really turned to God, because I thought, well, the mental health system can't help me or won't help me. This is not for friends. It definitely wasn't for my husband to deal with. Like, this is big. This is huge. Like, this is really, really big. Like, I needed to purge in a safe way. I needed to find somewhere I could purge in a safe way. And I was trying to find somewhere safe to purge. I even said to hospital, I just need to be cocooned. I just need a cocoon. I just need to feel safe to go deep into this feeling. And they looked at me like, what? I said, cocoon, like, be safe. And they go, ooh. And I go, as in, I need a bed, a hospital bed. And they go, oh. So they're a very 3D world. I don't know why they can't work out what the word cocoon means. But they didn't give me a bed anyway. They made me sit on a chair until 2 a.m. So I never even was given a bed anyways. There was nothing. There was no cocooning in that hospital. So basically, purging, not going to the details, praying to God. And then what did I start this channel for with you guys? Oh, yeah, the movie. I was going to show you what I've been doing today. So I was feeling quite, when I lose my sense of purpose, and you go, why have I slipped into that? And we've got to be really kind to ourselves when we slip into that, because yes, we are traumatized beings. We do have trauma. Well, when I had my infantile memories come up June last year, it actually escalated into me going to such low density psychosis, mental health breakdown, because the memories were too much for me to handle on my own. God wanted me to be broken like that. God needed me to be broken like that. Unfortunately, there was no support there for me. And during that time, my husband disappeared. He left, and he told me later, he said, I don't want to go down in a sinking ship. So when I needed him the most, and he has been there for me many times before on different levels, and I've been there for him many, 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 many times. So it's not like he hasn't been there before. But this was like, I'm in a really isolated position. We're in a whole new country town. I've got no friends nearby. We've just created a whole new life. Like, I don't have my normal. It's in the old times, if he wanted to be there, he could. If he didn't, if he didn't want to be there, if I was having a hard time, fine. But I had my support network because I was, in my home area, Mount Lawley down in Perth. So this time here I am in a small country town that I don't know anyone, and it's in the middle of mandate tyranny, and I had no money. I had no sense of money. I didn't have a job at that time. I was getting cash work every now and again, so I actually had no money. Like, yeah, it was a tough time. And then, as I've shared with you all a lot, the day after, then my phone, which he said, I'll bring it into my name, got disconnected. So then I couldn't ring anyone. No one could ring me. But then I worked out ways to fix that up, which was what God wanted me to do. God wanted me to learn how to reach out to the community, which is what I did because I had to, or I would have unlivened myself. I had to reach out to the community. I was in such a dangerous situation. And then when people wanted to know what was going on, I said, it's too much to tell. I don't need to say the story because I'd already had experience at the mental health St. John of God's over and repeating over and over and over again. And then they just put a drug in me and I'd fall asleep. So there was no purging. There was no purging. There was no actually going deep in a safe way into that deep memory or that deep pain. And today I've been going to deep pain. It's like every time it comes up, like I didn't know what today was about. I don't really know what today is about. All I know, it was so heavy. I stayed into bed until nearly 1 p.m. And got up, fed the dogs, made a coffee, went to bed, lay there, looked at the sky, falling asleep, go, come on, God, give me direction. And then I did get a message, it's okay to rest today, it's okay to rest. Halfway through the day, I'm going, no, I can't just do this. I can't just be in bed all day. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I need to make today productive somehow. And then I'm walking around, and everywhere I look, all it does is bring me despondency and despair and sadness. And it's like, no joy, no hope, no. And then I'm going, I've got to get myself out of this. I'm stuck. And why is this today and not yesterday? What's going on? So I'm saying to God, what is this about? What am I, why have I gone to this lack of, this sense of non-purpose? And then when I was looking at all those articles, there were so many articles that I went on today that were about the twin flame journey. And I keep saying to God, is this an okay article to watch? And there's a lot of them I start, I go, no, I'm not watching this one. There's a certain language I go, no, this is not godly. But there's certain ones that are godly, the ones that start with a prayer, the ones that keep talking about godly, divine, that they bring God into it. So I do now accept that some of these people that I'm being, it's not even just these people talking about twin flames. It's like I'll just randomly be on YouTube, and then the algorithm or God will show up this person that's talking about this topic, and I'm going, wow, that's really left field. Okay, I'm going to watch that, and it's exactly what I need to hear and read. And so today I was given quite a lot of articles about the process of the mirroring of the twin flames, and when, like, the feminine is the one that leads the healing, she activates the feminine energy. That doesn't have to be female, it's the feminine energy of the twin flame journey. So the feminine and masculine energy are in both people. So everyone's got feminine and masculine energy. But the feminine energy is the one to lead the healing. So it could be the feminine energy in the masculine, the actual 3D male, or it could be the feminine energy in the 3D female. In my marriage, it was the feminine energy in the 3D female that activated the healing first, because that was what happened when we first came up here. Not even just when we first came up here, but before we even got married, actually. So it's been happening for a long time, but really got activated when we came up here. And today, I kept getting this confirmation that that there's the amount of healing and purging that the divine masculine is going through, the masculine in the twin flame journey is going through. It's so deep and so heavy. So then I got this confirmation that I'm mirroring my beloved's energy level. So then I say, send prayers out and send love out, and then I'm going, right, so if I can work through this purging, I don't need to know what it's about. I just work through it, and in grace and in God, and I put out the energy that purging is healthy, purging is required, really important when we put it in the hands of God and we do the God protection. What am I going to do, though, for me in 3D to make this day, for me, for my vessel, Nadina, tonight, to when I go to bed, I can go, I brought purpose into my life in God's grace, in God's guidance. So I start with doing the dishes, then I go to putting loads of washing on, the generic household stuff that is so important. The minute we do those very basics, boom, we lift up the frequency so quickly. And then I got inspired to do some bigger stuff that I've been putting off for ever since. Oh my gosh, like the shed area, and there's all this stuff that's been out. When we took down the little garden shed, and there's all this stuff that came out of the garden shed that should have come into the main shed, and it's been sitting out there all summer and all winter, or half of autumn. So there's stuff that's actually getting ruined because it's had too much sun and now lots of water. And there's a lot of stuff that was fine, that was actually usable and good, that I'm just having to throw out. It's now become rubbish. So I have to accept that because it's set for the last 6 months, it's been so hard to know what to focus on. I just so much I had to go. I cannot do that. I don't have the energy for that. I've just got to focus on. There's just too much to do each day. Too much to do. It's just beyond, as I say at the beginning, this YouTube one person to do all of this. So I'm learning how to pull back, go smaller. Like, for example, I learnt how not to work on the garden and just focus on the house because the dogs have destroyed the garden. Like, they just basically dug up the garden. It's just, it's actually quite horrifying what they've done to the garden. And until I put fences up and separate the beautiful garden to their area, and they're only in the beautiful garden when they're under supervision, well, until that happens, there is no point in working on the garden, and there's no point in even trying to fix up the damage they've done. So it's just, I said, thanks God, so it brought me into focusing on the house. Today, I didn't want to be stuck indoors. I just couldn't bear the idea of being stuck indoors. I almost finished the library, brought all the furniture in and brought all the admin stuff in and got all the electrics in, and that's actually how I ruined my wrist, hurt my wrist 3 weeks ago by moving furniture on my own. But I thought, no, can't do it. Need to be outdoors. So I was outdoors for, I don't know, a couple of hours, and then I was like, I want to show people the process of healing, healthy purging, because at 1 o'clock I was in bed. I wasn't crying necessarily, but I was just really, just had no mojo, no oomph, no, it was just nothing. It was just like I was a corpse. I'm not a corpse, but it's just like, I can't think of the word. It was just like, oh, yuck. I didn't want to be in my body. I didn't want to deal with the day. I come out, of course, and I snuggle and cuddle up with the dogs. They always give me so much joy. And my cat, our beautiful little Ollie. So when I started getting in action with actually dealing with mess, outside mess, and then I actually started walking around going, I think I'm ready now to start digging up. Today, what I'm going to do when this shuts down is start digging up the old retic, because I can hear the water pouring from the back of the bedroom. It's been happening since I've been here for 17 months. I can always hear it. There's always this water flowing. And it's really deep pipes, and shared with you a long time ago, Water Corp won't help me out. They just say, you've got to work it out. You've got to work out what the pipes are. But the pipes aren't from the retic from the previous owners. They're from the owners from the previous owners, and that's 26 years ago. So I've got a lot of digging to do to find out all this old piping, and it's probably the old metal piping, because I did find some old metal piping when I was doing a garden bed out the front here. So I would say it's just an old, but anyways, whatever it is, it's actually it's underground a fair bit. So a lot of digging, but we've had some rain and it's a nice sunny day, and I'm going to be gentle with my wrist, and you guys can pray for it. It's very sore. This is the one that got really damaged in aged care. I'm going to, that process of digging up the really old retic that's got a water problem, that's going to cause even more disruption to that garden. And then, then I can ask someone to help me create a new retic. Not help me, but actually, it is help. I will ask if I can come up with some sort of balance, like help them on their house or work out a way to pay them. But I have a beautiful Christian, strong male friend who has offered to help. And today I've felt not shame, but it's like, oh, do I or don't I? I'm like, no, he's offered too many times. God says, I will provide you the help you need. And so I rang him today to ask him if he could come around after work so I can show him what needs to be done and book in a time that we start dealing with the retic. And then once we start dealing with digging up the retic, I'll do a fair bit of it myself, of course, but he's so clever that he'll probably be able to help me work out a whole new retic system. I do have a new retic system that my friend Brad and I did early December, but it was just a temporary thing to get me through summer. So it has to be tweaked like crazy. I need lots of solenoids. Like the whole retic system needs a major overhaul. It's huge. It's such a huge thing that needs to be done. So that's how I got in action with my purging, because it's also a physical action. And think about it this way, it's sort of a mindless action. Like when you're digging in the ground, you're following and it's also a guided action. So here I am digging, following the pipeline, got to go down low, and then I follow the pipeline. I'm being guided with my physical action, and it's something that needs to happen. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I just have to be mindful. I'm guided. I'm doing something that's so needed, so required. It's been blocking me, because once the retic, once the water, the water, the old, really old retic system is dug up and pulled out, then the water leak gets fixed, and there's all this water wastage. Then the new retic system can be made properly, and then the fencing can go in, and then I can get back into gardening. I have to share with you, I'm going to wrap this up, I have to share with you, I couldn't resist. So I've got this, actually I might just turn it around, it might be easier if I turn it around, hang on. So I got 3 of these bags, they were on sale, potting mix, because little Xena a couple of months ago just dug up all the pots and just dug them right up. They were gone, they were almost gone to the bottom. So I've got to fill them up again, and got these snapdragons the other day. I got 6 of them. Beautiful snapdragons. I had 6 of them, but Xena destroyed 3 of them. But I'm going to put the potting mix in there, put some more plants in there. And as I said, and that's why the bed's pulled out, because I'm so sick of her destroying the planter boxes, making it so she can't reach it. But I couldn't resist, everyone. I couldn't resist. I've got all these plants are on sale. So see how it's reduced price. So there's a jasmine, ground cover. So I just couldn't resist. Even though I said I wasn't going to do any more gardening until the fence got put in, I couldn't resist. Oh, that's Vic. Vic just turned up. Yes, I've got these beautiful ground covers, because this is what they've done. This is actually what they've done to this is the side garden. This is just the front. This is what they've done to the front. It's awful. They had so many plants in it. That was beautiful. Heaps of plants in there. They're gone. This was full of diodes. Gone. Plants gone. And right at the back it's the same. But I got these to go down in here to replace. I'm going to try to replace it and make it nice enough. But I do have to put the fence in. But Vic just turned up. Yay, Vic's just turned up. Oh no, it's actually Simon. It's another neighbour of mine, another of my friend. So I'll get off this YouTube now. See ya. Bye. Keep well. Keep well. God bless. I'll speak later. Hi, Simon. Yeah. I hope I covered what I want to cover. So interesting talking on YouTube. You can go on and on. God bless. Keep well. See ya.